My dear friends, in life we often spend so much time looking outside that we forget to look within. We compare our journey with others. We measure our worth through someone else's success. We try to adjust ourselves just to fit into expectations that were never ours to begin with. And then we wonder, why am I not happy? Why am I not growing? Why does life feel so heavy? Let me share something very simple, yet very powerful. When you focus on yourself, everything changes. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger, wiser, calmer. When you stop comparing your life with others, something powerful begins to happen inside you. Comparison is like a thief that quietly enters your mind and steals your joy, your confidence, and your sense of worth. We often look at someone else's success, beauty, talent, or lifestyle and immediately feel that we are lacking. But what we forget is that everyone is walking a different path, carrying different struggles, and moving at a different pace. Just because someone else is ahead in one chapter doesn't mean you are behind in your story. The moment you shift your focus from others to yourself, you stop draining energy on things you cannot control and begin investing that energy into your own growth. This shift transforms your mindset from insecurity to self-awareness, from doubt to determination. Transformation begins the moment you ask yourself, who was I yesterday? And how can I become a better version today? When you start measuring progress based on your own improvement rather than someone else's achievements, you feel lighter, more motivated, and more connected to your true purpose. You begin to celebrate small wins that once went unnoticed because you were too busy looking outward. You start recognizing your strengths instead of obsessing over someone else's strengths. You become more patient with your journey because now you understand that real growth takes time, effort, and attention. Comparing yourself with others often creates a false timeline, making you feel rushed, pressured, or inadequate. But when you focus solely on your own path, you realize that life is not a race. It is a personal unfolding. You start giving yourself permission to grow at your own pace, to take breaks when needed, to improve step by step without the burden of external expectations. This self-focused approach creates clarity. Instead of wondering what others think of you, you begin asking what you think of you. Instead of trying to fit into someone else's standards, you begin creating your own. Instead of copying, you begin creating. As you place attention on your own growth, your habits shift, your attitude refines, and your self-awareness deepens. You become more mindful of your thoughts, more intentional with your actions, and more grateful for your journey. The moment you stop comparing and start transforming, you discover that the only competition that truly matters is the one between who you are and who you are becoming. Protecting your peace and protecting your energy is one of the greatest investments you can ever make in yourself. In life, we often give our attention to things that drain us: unnecessary arguments, negative people, situations that don't align with our values, and expectations that were never ours to carry. When your peace is constantly disturbed, your mind becomes cluttered, your decisions become unclear, and your energy becomes scattered. But when you consciously choose what deserves space in your mind and what doesn't, you begin to create an inner environment where growth feels natural and calm becomes your default state. There is a simple truth: not everything needs your reaction, and not everyone deserves your emotional involvement. Sometimes silence is stronger than arguing. Letting go is wiser than holding on. Walking away is more powerful than staying in a place where your worth is questioned. Protecting your peace doesn't make you rude or distant. It makes you responsible for your emotional well-being, your mental clarity, and your inner stability. It means choosing battles that matter and releasing the ones that only drain your spirit. Energy is like currency. Where you invest it determines what grows in your life. If you spend your energy worrying about what others think, stressing about situations you can't control, or replaying past experiences that can't be changed, you end up feeling exhausted without moving forward. But when you direct your energy towards self-improvement, meaningful relationships, gratitude, purpose-driven actions, activities that nourish your mind, you begin to feel lighter, stronger, and more aligned with who you truly want to become. Protecting your peace also means setting boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect the space you need to grow. It means saying no without guilt, prioritizing your mental health, and choosing environments where you feel respected and valued. It means stepping back when something feels toxic and stepping forward when something feels authentic. When you create healthy boundaries, you create room for clarity, productivity, and emotional balance to flourish. As you guard your peace and manage your energy wisely, you begin to notice subtle yet powerful changes within yourself. You become less reactive, more reflective, less anxious, more intentional. You start attracting people and experiences that match your vibration because your energy becomes clean, focused, and steady. The more you protect your peace, the more life begins to feel like something you are actively shaping rather than something you are simply surviving through. Self-discipline is one of the most powerful foundations for building genuine self-confidence because it teaches you that you can trust yourself. Confidence is not something that appears magically. It is built through consistent actions that prove to you that you are capable, responsible, and committed. Every time you follow through on a promise you make to yourself, whether it's waking up on time, complete a task, or maintaining a positive habit, you strengthen your belief in your own ability. And when you break your own promises, even in small ways, you slowly weaken that inner trust. That's why self-discipline is not about being strict or harsh. It is about nurturing healthy relationship with yourself, one where your actions align with your intention. When you practice self-discipline, your mind becomes sharper and your focus becomes clearer. You stop getting distracted by every impulse or desire that pulls you away from what truly matters. You learn to delay gratification, understanding that long-term fulfillment is far more valuable than short-lived comfort. This shift in perspective creates inner strength. You begin to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow. You push yourself to do the hard things because you know that the rewards on the other side are worth the effort. One of the most empowering effects of self-discipline is the sense of control it gives you. Instead of being controlled by emotions, habits, or external circumstances, you start directing your life with purpose. You gain the ability to regulate your feelings, manage your time, and structure your day in a way that supports your goals. This sense of control builds confidence because you can see yourself take charge of your life instead of letting life just happen to you. Self-discipline also cultivates consistency, and consistency builds identity. When you repeatedly show up for yourself, you begin to embody the qualities you admire. You see yourself becoming more reliable, more resilient, and more focused. Over time, this shapes a stronger inner identity, one that is rooted in effort rather than comparison. You stop seeking validation from others because you already know your own worth through the actions you take each day. You feel proud not because someone praises you, but because you can witness your own growth unfolding step by step. As you embrace self-discipline in your daily life, you notice that confidence is no longer something you chase. It becomes a natural result of your habits, your choices, and your commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. Healing before you hustle is one of the most underrated yet essential steps in building a strong, stable, and meaningful life. Many people rush into action, chase goals, or push themselves endlessly without realizing that unresolved pain, unprocessed emotions, and unhealed wounds quietly influence their decisions, their relationships, and even their ambitions. When your heart is heavy, your mind is unsettled, and your inner world is cluttered, no amount of outer hustle can bring lasting clarity or peace. Healing is not weakness, it is preparation. It creates emotional space, mental strength, and spiritual grounding so that your hustle becomes purposeful instead of chaotic. When you give yourself the time and compassion to heal, you start understanding the patterns that have been shaping your behavior. You begin to see why certain things trigger you, why you hold certain fears, and why some situations repeat themselves. Healing shines a light on the parts of you that need attention, not judgment. It helps you release old burdens, resentment, guilt, insecurity, disappointment that weigh down your potential. As you let go of these inner blocks, your mind starts gaining clarity and your heart begins to feel lighter. Healing opens the door for wisdom to enter. Emotional healing also builds resilience. When you address your wounds with patience and honesty, you develop a deeper sense of strength that hustle alone could never give you. You no longer react impulsively or carry past pain into present moments. Instead, you become more mindful, more grounded, and more in control of your emotional world. This inner stability allows you to face challenges with calmness rather than panic, with confidence rather than fear. It becomes easier to stay focused, make better decisions, and stay committed to your path. Taking time to heal makes your ambitions clearer too. Many people chase goals that don't align with their true self simply because they are trying to fill a void or prove something to others. But when you heal, you start choosing goals that resonate with your values, your passions, and your authentic purpose. Your hustle becomes meaningful rather than exhausting. You work not from a place of pressure, but from a place of alignment. As your wounds heal, your relationships also improve. You communicate with more understanding, you connect with more compassion, and you set healthier boundaries. You show up with a heart that is whole rather than hurting. Healing doesn't slow your progress, it strengthens your foundation so that everything you build stands firmly, even in the face of life's inevitable storms. Choosing alignment over approval is one of the most liberating shifts you can make in your life because it frees you from the constant pressure of trying to satisfy everyone around you. Many people spend years living according to expectations, opinions, and judgments that don't reflect who they truly are. They choose careers to impress society, behave in certain ways to avoid criticism, and silence their own desires just to maintain acceptance from others. But the truth is, no matter how much you try to please people, someone will always have something to say. Approval is temporary, unstable, and often conditional. Alignment, on the other hand, is rooted in your values, your truth, and your purpose. When your actions reflect who you are inside, life instantly feels lighter, more meaningful, and more authentic. Living in alignment means being honest with yourself about what you want, what you believe in, and what kind of life feels right to you. It requires courage because it often means going against the crowd, disappointing a few people, or stepping out of familiar patterns. But this courage is what leads to true freedom. When you stop molding yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, you finally begin to grow into the person you're meant to become. You start trusting your intuition more, making decisions with clarity, and taking steps based on your inner compass rather than the outside noise. Choosing alignment also protects your mental and emotional well-being. Approval seeking often creates anxiety, stress, and constant self-doubt because you are always wondering whether you're enough. But when you act from a place of alignment, your confidence grows naturally. You stop asking, "What will they think of me?" and start asking, "Is this right for me?" This shift transforms the way you view yourself. You begin valuing your own voice more than the opinions around you. Your self-worth becomes stronger because it no longer depends on external validation. Alignment also improves your relationships because when you show up as your true self, you attract people who genuinely resonate with you. You no longer have to adjust your personality to fit in or pretend to be someone you're not. Your connections become deeper, more meaningful, and more respectful. People begin to appreciate you not for what you do for their approval, but for who you truly are. As you choose alignment in your daily life, even small decisions begin to feel more intentional. You notice that your mind becomes calmer, your goals become clearer, and your path becomes more fulfilling. Approval might give momentary comfort, but alignment gives long-term peace, direction, and authenticity. Consistency is one of the most powerful forces in personal growth because it shapes your mindset, your habits, and eventually your entire destiny. Many people wait for motivation to strike before they take action, but motivation comes and goes. Consistency, however, is a decision, a commitment to show up even on the days when you don't feel like it. When you consistently invest time and effort into your goals, you begin to create momentum. Small steps taken regularly compound into big results over time. What once felt difficult becomes natural. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. And what once seemed impossible starts to feel achievable, simply because you kept moving forward, little by little. Consistency also builds character. Every time you show up for yourself, you reinforce discipline, resilience, and self-belief. You begin to trust your own ability to follow through, and that trust becomes a core part of your confidence. Instead of relying on external motivation or validation, you develop an inner strength that keeps you grounded. You learn that success is not about doing something perfectly once. It's about doing the right things repeatedly, even imperfectly. Through consistency, you form habits that support your goals rather than sabotage them. These habits create structure, stability, and direction in your life. Another powerful aspect of consistency is the clarity it brings. When you commit to a routine, whether it's learning, exercising, improving a skill, or working on your personal development, you begin to see patterns in your progress. You understand what works for you and what doesn't. You can adjust your actions, refine your approach, and set better goals. Consistency gives you data about yourself, and that self-awareness is essential for long-term growth. It helps you stay focused, avoid distractions, and stay aligned with the bigger picture, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Consistency also builds momentum in your emotional world. When you consistently practice gratitude, mindfulness, kindness, or self-reflection, your emotional resilience grows. You become less reactive, more patient, and more intentional with your choices. Consistency turns positive actions into natural instincts. It reshapes your identity from the inside out. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. As you stay consistent, you begin to attract opportunities, people, and experiences that match your level of commitment. Your energy becomes more disciplined. Your presence becomes stronger. And your goals start aligning with your efforts. The small daily actions you take accumulate quietly, but over time they create transformations that are visible, powerful, and lasting. As we come to the end of this journey together, remember that real transformation doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens through the choices you make every day. When you stop comparing and start transforming, when you protect your peace, practice discipline, choose alignment, heal your heart, and stay consistent, life begins to shift in the most beautiful ways. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger, wiser, clearer, and more grounded.